The National Electrical Code Section 250.146a requires grounding bushings where metal raceways, cables, or conduit enter an enclosure that contains electrical equipment or wiring. Section 300.20 of the NEC requires grounding bushings for all conduit or nipples entering a non-metallic enclosure that contains electrical equipment or wiring. NEC Section 300.22 requires grounding bushings for all conduit or nipples entering a metallic enclosure that contains any electrical equipment or wiring not connected to ground. Grounding bushings are not required if the raceway or enclosure is provided with a grounding means, such as a grounding lug or screw, and the grounding conductor is connected to that grounding means. This is per NEC Section 250.146a3. Also, grounding bushings are not required if the knockout in the enclosure is threaded and the conduit or nipple is threaded into the enclosure. This is according to NEC Section 250.146a. If the knockout in the enclosure is concentric, that is, punched out, it is not considered a threaded knockout and therefore requires a grounding bushing. This is based on NEC Section 250.146a. However, if the knockout is punched out, but the conduit or nipple is then threaded into the enclosure, no grounding bushing is required. There are different types of grounding bushings. Metal bushings provide a positive grounding connection and are required for hazardous locations. Plastic bushings are non-conductive and less expensive than metal bushings, but they are not permitted in hazardous locations. Failure to use grounding bushings can create a potential ground fault, which can result in electrical shocks or equipment damage. It can also compromise the electrical integrity of the system and void the warranty on the electrical equipment. To further elaborate, consider the importance of proper grounding in electrical systems. Grounding provides a low impedance path for fault current to flow back to the source, which allows overcurrent protective devices such as circuit breakers or fuses to quickly trip and energize the circuit in the event of a fault. This minimizes the risk of electrical shock and equipment damage. Grounding bushings play a critical role in ensuring that metal raceways and enclosures are properly grounded. They provide a secure and reliable connection between the raceway and the grounding system. When a fault occurs, the current will flow through the grounding bushing and back to the source, tripping the overcurrent protective device. Without a grounding bushing, the fault current may not have a clear path to ground, which can result in a dangerous voltage buildup on the raceway and enclosure. This voltage could pose a significant shock hazard to anyone who comes into contact with the metal. The NEC provides specific requirements for grounding bushings to ensure that electrical systems are installed safely and reliably. These requirements are based on years of experience and research, and they are designed to protect people and property from electrical hazards. It's important to understand and follow these requirements carefully to ensure the safety of yourself and others. Now let's delve deeper into the specific NEC sections that govern the use of grounding bushings. NEC Section 250.146 covers the grounding of equipment connected by cord and plug. This section requires that metal raceways, cables, or conduit that enclose the conductors be grounded to the equipment grounding conductor. This can be achieved by using a grounding bushing or other approved means. NEC Section 300.20 addresses the installation of conductors in metal raceways or enclosures. This section requires that the raceway or enclosure be electrically continuous and securely fastened to the equipment it serves. This can be accomplished by using threaded connections, bonding jumpers, or grounding bushings. NEC Section 300.22 covers wiring in ducts, plenums, and other spaces used for environmental air. This section requires that all metal raceways and enclosures be grounded to the building grounding system. This is to prevent the buildup of static electricity, which can be a fire hazard in these areas. It's important to note that the NEC is a minimum standard, and local jurisdictions may have additional requirements. Always check with your local electrical inspector to ensure that your installation complies with all applicable codes and regulations. In addition to the NEC requirements, there are also industry best practices for the use of grounding bushings. For example, it's generally recommended to use grounding bushings on all metal raceways and enclosures, even if they are not specifically required by the NEC. This provides an extra layer of protection against electrical hazards. It's also important to use the correct type of grounding bushing for the application. Metal grounding bushings are typically used in hazardous locations, while plastic grounding bushings are used in non-hazardous locations. Make sure to select a grounding bushing that is listed and labeled for the intended use. When installing grounding bushings, it's important to follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully. This will ensure that the bushing is properly installed and will provide a reliable grounding connection. Also, regularly inspect grounding bushings to ensure that they are in good condition and are properly connected. Replace any damaged or corroded bushings immediately. Failure to use grounding bushings can have serious consequences. In addition to the risk of electrical shock and equipment damage, it can also void the warranty on electrical equipment. Many manufacturers require that their equipment be properly grounded in order to maintain the warranty. Not using grounding bushings can also compromise the electrical integrity of the system. This can lead to nuisance tripping of circuit breakers, voltage drops, and other electrical problems. In some cases, it can even lead to a fire. To avoid these problems, always use grounding bushings when required by the NEC and industry best practices. This will help to ensure the safety and reliability of the electrical system. Let's now consider some specific scenarios where grounding bushings are required. If you are installing a metal conduit run to a panel board, you will need to use grounding bushings at both ends of the conduit. This will ensure that the conduit is properly grounded to the panel board and to the building grounding system. If you are installing a metal cable tray system, you will need to use grounding bushings at all points where the cable tray connects to other metal structures. This will ensure that the cable tray system is properly grounded and will prevent the buildup of static electricity. If you are installing electrical equipment in a hazardous location, you will need to use metal grounding bushings and other explosion-proof fittings. This will prevent sparks or arcs from igniting flammable materials in the area. In each of these scenarios, the grounding bushing plays a critical role in ensuring the safety and reliability of the electrical system. By following the NEC requirements and industry best practices, you can help to prevent electrical hazards and protect people and property. In summary, grounding bushings are an essential component of a safe and reliable electrical system. They provide a low impedance path for fault current to flow back to the source, which allows overcurrent protective devices to quickly trip and de-energize the circuit in the event of a fault. The NEC provides specific requirements for grounding bushings to ensure that electrical systems are installed safely and reliably. Always follow these requirements and industry best practices to protect yourself and others from electrical hazards. Remember to always consult the latest edition of the NEC and local electrical codes for the most up-to-date requirements. Electrical codes and standards are constantly evolving to improve safety and address new technologies. Staying informed about these changes is crucial for electrical professionals and anyone working with electrical systems. Consider attending electrical code update courses or seminars to stay abreast of the latest developments. These courses can provide valuable insights into changes in the NEC and other relevant standards. Online resources, such as the National Fire Protection Association's NFPA website, can also be a valuable source of information. The NFPA publishes the NEC and other important electrical standards. By continuously learning and updating your knowledge, you can ensure that your electrical work is safe, compliant, and effective. And consider that proper grounding is not just about meeting code requirements, it's about protecting lives and property. Electrical accidents can have devastating consequences, and proper grounding is one of the most effective ways to prevent them. Take the time to understand the importance of grounding and to implement it correctly in your electrical installations. Your efforts can make a real difference in ensuring the safety of yourself, your colleagues, and the public. Also, think about the long-term benefits of proper grounding. A properly grounded electrical system will be more reliable and less prone to problems. This can save you time and money in the long run by reducing the need for repairs and maintenance. Additionally, a well-grounded system can help to protect sensitive electronic equipment from damage caused by voltage surges and other electrical disturbances. In conclusion, grounding bushings are an important part of electrical safety and proper installation. When installing any electrical system, it is important to take these things into consideration. So, grounding bushings must be installed when the NEC or other regulations require it. Metal grounding bushings must be used in hazardous locations and in other situations when the other types of grounding bushings are not suitable for the task.